All right, I'm going to get going. So welcome everyone. This is the Eclipse Foundation quarterly member meeting for September 2016. I'll introduce the agenda in a second. I just wanted to let you know that today's meeting is a bit interesting. We've got a number of speakers sort of scattered all over the place. I think things are going to go really smooth, and we'll do the best we can, but I apologize if there's any glitches along the way. So today's meeting, we've got a number of speakers actually for my colleagues from the Eclipse Foundation. My name is Andrea Ross. I'm the Director of Ecosystem Development, and I'm the first speaker, so I'll introduce myself and talk in a moment. My colleague Philippe Krief, who's our Director of Research Relations, will be speaking about the programs that he's involved with. My other colleague, Denis Roy, from our IT, he's our IT Services Director, will be talking about some of the IT and infrastructure that the Foundation has. Wayne Beaton, who's our Director of Open Source Projects, will be talking about the Neon simultaneous release and a number of policy updates and procedure updates for the for projects hosted at the Eclipse Foundation. So some good stuff there. Paul White, who's our VP of Membership, will be joining us in a little while, and he'll be talking about the membership, the current state of membership, and a number of interesting conferences that are coming up. And then Michael Linkovich, who's our Executive Director, he'll be wrapping things up and talking about Eclipse Foundation's finances and update for our marketing initiatives, talking about the IoT working group, because my colleague Ian Scarrett is traveling today, and more. So, and at the end, we'll have questions and answers. If you'd like to ask a question, there's a number of ways you can do so. Feel free to email me directly, andrea.ross@eclipse.org. You can also ask them on Twitter. So use the EclipseMM hashtag, EclipseMM with no space. And I'll see that, and I'll basically relay the question to the right person. This is being live streamed and recorded to YouTube, so you can also comment on the YouTube video. As well, if you're watching the event page, there's a live chat there, so I'll try to monitor that and relay questions as well. If all else fails, just figure out some way to contact myself or one of my colleagues, and we'll make sure the right person responds and answers your question. So I'm going to hand it off to myself. So once again, I'm the Director of Ecosystem Development. I have two primary areas of responsibility, the Location Tech and Science working groups, and I'm just going to talk a little bit about what's going on in those groups. So first will be Location Tech. So just as a quick introduction, Location Tech is the geospatial, geomatics, GIS working group at the Eclipse Foundation. The group continues to grow steadily. So you can see a number of the logos for the member organizations that are participating. We're up to 20 members and 19 projects. This is good. We're actually working with a number of other organizations to help them with their membership papers and to get them involved in the group. What's really cool is behind the scenes, there's quite a few more organizations who are participating in the projects. Basically have people contributing code to the projects, or the adopter community is even larger. So this is great to see this kind of growth. We wanted to wish fond farewell to Globe3 Mobile. So for business reasons, Globe3 Mobile had to leave. We hope to see them again at some point. We've really enjoyed working with them, and we hope to see them come back at some point. I'd like to shout out to my colleague Thea Aldrich, who's running this year's Location Tech Tour. So for those of you who haven't participated in it, it's a federated series of global events, as the slide says. Basically, we work with the local community around the world to put on a great one-day event in their city. These events are very, very low cost. They tend to be free or close to it. And they feature some of the best open source geospatial, open data geospatial initiatives out there. So as you see, we started it in 2013. We weren't quite sure what to expect. It took off and was really a huge success and continued to grow. In 2015, we had trouble keeping up with it, but I now have my colleague Thea Aldrich, who's joined me, and she's basically making me look bad by having our biggest tour yet. The other thing I want to talk about is the Geo Days. So Geo Days is a one-day conference featuring open source and open data usage in the federal government. So there's a number of prominent US government agencies that are speaking and participating at that event. I encourage you to check it out. Their website is fedgeoday.org. It runs on October 13th, and it's in Washington, DC. And huge thanks to the Red Cross for hosting us. They're providing the space for us to run this conference. So It's a really great conference with a very supportive vibe, where basically people are sharing ideas and best practice and some of the things that they've done to be successful in their jobs. So for some of you who are going to be there, I'm looking forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks. My other working group that I'm responsible for is the science working group. So this one relates to software for scientists. So things like data analysis, simulation. We have some interesting new projects. Basically, they're doing rastering for equipment, basically pulling data off of a number of different devices. This is at science.eclipse.org, as you can see. There are a number of members participating in this group. The group continues to grow well. It actually has a really vibrant culture and very supportive and very enthusiastic people, very smart people involved in this group. So it's a real pleasure to work with. Just recently, a little over a week ago, I participated at an IXT workshop in Denver with Jay Billings from the Oak Ridge National Lab. We both had the pleasure of speaking, and the audience was a large number of people from various science facilities and science organizations around the world. So it was a really great event, and hats off to the organizers for running that event. We've got a new member who just joined. So Soleil Synchrotron is the national synchrotron facility in France, so that we're really jazzed to be able to work with them. We've got a number of projects that have joined recently. So actually the rastering project I didn't mention here. So go to science.eclipse.org and click on proposals, and you can read about it. That's it for me. What I'd like to do is introduce my colleague, Philippe Krief, who's our Research Relations Director. So Philippe, if you're ready, go ahead and unmute your microphone, and I'll hand things over to you.
Thanks a lot, Andrea. I think I am on mute now, right?
Yeah, we can hear you perfectly. Go ahead. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, hi everybody. Yes, so my name is Philippe Krief. I'm Research Relations Director at the Eclipse Foundation, and I will talk to you a little bit about my current activity at the foundation. So, if you are all here, that you know the importance of building a community around your projects. Actually, several organizations understood this point also, and because they were struggling on this task during some research project, they pinged us and to assist them in this process. They understood that sharing some source code on GitHub doesn't really help, but in building a sustainable community around their code, they need more, and the Eclipse Foundation could help with its experience and best practices. So, for this reason, that 3 years ago, now we have been invited to participate to several European research projects, and I will enumerate some of them. But before that, you might recognize a part of this triptych, the relationship between big organization and SMEs supported by the open source. Actually, Eclipse working groups are a great example of such relationship. We put in the same virtual room large organization and SMEs. The first one present their pain points and requirements, when the second one are here to understand and implement the solution based on open source. By adding a researcher in this picture, we add a third important dimension, research innovation. The researcher shares their new ideas with the organization, and once these ideas are in sync with the organization concerns, then the SMEs show up and industrialize the prototyped solution. With the foundation, we are trying to push a little bit further the idea, suggesting to fork the research project. Like that, we leave the researcher continuing their own research, while the SME can start cleaning and industrializing the provided code. So, why such approach works so well in European research projects? Because we have today something like 7 running projects, 6 or 7 running projects. Mainly because today European Commission is a strong believer in open source. Today they push any single IT project to open source its code. For the European Commission, it's the best way to leverage the project by reaching lots of people instead of staying shared by a single project consortium. So here's the list of projects where we are currently involved. Most of this project will generate an Eclipse project by itself, or some contributions to some existing project. We hope that all these projects will pull new members to the Eclipse community, and these projects are also great showroom for our existing Eclipse project. Actually, it's already the case for most of them, because most of these projects are reusing or are planning to reuse one or more Eclipse project in their European projects. So here's the oldest one, who started in 2014, Amalthea for Public. It's a project led by Bosch. Bosch open sourced a data model to describe an embedded system, and the other partner, including Bosch, actually, are working on this model to edit it, generate code base on it, or simulate the system to help the end user in finding the best multi-core architecture for his system. Agile is an Internet of Things project, and they are building a modular gateway for IoT solutions. The big part of this project is based on some existing IoT Eclipse project like Cura or Mosquito. I wanted to show you, I will not go in details, but I wanted to show you this slide just to show different area where the project will implement some pilots, from dealing with healthcare devices and attach privacy issues to smart retailing, including preservation of wild animals and pollution monitoring for smart cities. So it's really wide subjects. AMAS, it's also a new project for this year. It follow up the PolarSys project named OpenCert. The main concern of this project is a certification. Example, how can I certify that this car will not crash while the driver will be watching a movie? It can be a very important issue, I guess. And we saw recently what was going on. Basis, it's all about Industries 4.0, how to design and validate such production process in this new digital area. CrossMiner might interest some of you. It's about code assistance on your IDE. This project will use the Eclipse projects to extract some knowledge and other best practices and present them later to your IDE to assist the developer, beginner, or the expert during his development process. The last but not least, as PolarSys was a great landing zone for all communities involved in modeling, Rob Moses has the ambition to be the open and sustainable robotic software ecosystem inside our Eclipse community. So they want really to pool as many people and projects inside Eclipse through this project. So it was a very quick presentation. And so if you are interested in any of these projects, for example, if you want to join us on one of those, or if you want to invite the Eclipse Foundation to participate to one of your European projects, please contact us on research@eclipse.org. Thank you very much.
Great, thanks so much, Philippe. I'm going to switch and hand over to my colleague, Denis Roy. So take it away, Denis.
Thank you, Andrea. My name is Denis Roy. I'm the Director of IT for the Eclipse Foundation. I just wanted to provide a quick update on what's going on in Serverland at Eclipse. Certainly this year has been marked in an unusual way for us in that we've had a number of service outages, some of them to some of our core services, to a level that we haven't seen in many years. So I just wanted to touch base as to what's going on, what is causing these outages, as well as what we are doing to rectify and return to a level of stability that people have come to know and expect. Over the last few years, we've seen a lot of increased traffic to our servers. I think a lot of new services have been provisioned, such as automatic updates, the Oomph installer, OAuth authentication, which have been driving a lot more traffic to our servers. And it's become obvious in 2016 that some of the mechanisms that were put in place years and years ago that have been working just fine suddenly stopped working. Some of the outages we've experienced throughout the year, our core website, eclipse.org, the Eclipse Marketplace, Bugzilla, our wiki, and even our source code management tools such as Git and Gerrit. So I've tried to, we've been working very hard on identifying the actual causes of these outages. So for instance, our website, Bugzilla and Marketplace, we simply had database servers that were overloaded. In addition, some of our PHP-enabled websites were being bogged down by the usage of a networked file system, which again has been working for the better part of 12 years, but all of a sudden under the right circumstances can no longer scale. Git and Gerrit were affected by the new installer, which fetches a specific set of files from cgit if the website is not accessible. So these are essentially the causes for the outages, and the fixes that we've implemented so far seem to have been working. And I'm going to touch this wooden table here in front of me because I feel that we've really pinpointed the causes correctly, and the fixes will prove to be effective. Since our databases have been overloaded, we've provisioned actually 4 new database servers, 2 of which are backing up our core website and Bugzilla. So this is the first time that we actually provision new database servers in many years. So that's going to give us a lot of scalability for Bugzilla and the wiki and even our website. In terms of the PHP websites that rely on the network file system, once it was obvious that that was our bottleneck, we've reconfigured our load balancers and simply moved all of those session files onto local storage, where those servers can be set up to scale virtually indefinitely. So that is no longer a problem as well. Now, since our website was going down at very odd times, that would cause the oomph installer to perhaps panic and look for files elsewhere in order to preserve the end user experience, which in turn was taken down Git and Gerrit. So on the cgit side, the oomph team have been very responsive. I'd like to thank them for that in reworking some of the code behind that. But on the IT side, we've also enabled caching on Git just to ensure that if ever our website does go down, that the installer can keep on working and still not take down our Git servers. In addition, so those are the fixes that we've implemented so far, and I think we will see a lot of stability return to our core services. We're not done. There are still some performance issues with the downloads. We do have a 4-node download cluster that is in our lab, currently being provisioned, and we're just waiting to finish configuring it and bench testing it and implementing it, and that will replace a 7-year-old download server that's been working just fine. And the ETA for that is next quarter, so in that time frame. So that pretty much covers the outages that we've had, why we've had them, and what we're doing to fix them. I hand the microphone back over to Andrea. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Denis. Really appreciate you coming to talk. So our next speaker is going to be Wayne Beaton, who's joining us from afar. Wayne, if you'd like to unmute your microphone, and I'll hand things off to you. You might be muted at the moment, Wayne, because I can't hear you just yet.
There we go. How's that?
I can hear you perfectly. Thanks so much.
You see my mess of a screen?
Yeah.
How's that?
Looks great. Go for it.
Slides. Okay, excellent. Thank you. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. I'm glad you could join us today. I'm pretty excited about some of the stuff that's going on. I've got on my list to investigate how we can further refine the Eclipse development process to continue to maintain the principles, the important aspects of running a project at Eclipse while lightening certain burdens. We have certainly got some new projects that are moving very quickly and need to release a lot more quickly than our current release process allows. So I'm putting a lot of brain power into this. I've opened up bug 496321 as a place to discuss this issue. I think the process of doing reviews or the concept of doing reviews is a valuable one that I would like to keep, but I would like to make it so that a project can release fairly frequently. We have some projects that would actually like to release and do a proper release every few days or every week or so, certainly at maybe in an early stage of their development cycles. And we'd like to try and accommodate them as much as possible, at least not put roadblocks in front of them getting code out quickly to their user community. At the same time, we want to make sure this isn't something, this doesn't become a substitute for doing actual proper planning in a project. So these are concerns that I need to consider, and I will be bringing a proposal to the Architecture Council shortly for a process change. So certainly, if you have any questions about that or input to gather, the bug number again was 496321. If you could add your comments there, that would be fantastic. Increased bandwidth has made it possible for us to do a lot more. The translation of that is Stephanie Swart, who most of you, or many of you, certainly with newer projects, have almost certainly had an exchange with, is fantastic. She has been a great asset to the organization, chasing down projects that certainly projects that are in the onboarding process at the Eclipse Foundation. I'm making sure that nobody gets stuck. It's still fairly early on. She's been working with us for only a couple of months, but the increased bandwidth and the fact that she digs and she's reaching out to projects has been very valuable already, and I'm looking forward to that value just increasing. One of the things that I'm hoping to do is to actually start providing more value during reviews, whenever we decide, based on the discussion I started with the previous slide, whatever we decide or whatever form we decide reviews take, being able to provide more value. What can we help a project do to attract community, grow diversity, do the important things that open source projects need to do? Again, I'm really excited about this prospect, and having good people in the right positions makes that possible. Last quarter, we put out some guidelines for trademarks and branding, and this is all based around we actually have some rules about maintaining trademarks. The fact of the matter is when you assert a trademark, you actually have to do some work to maintain it in order to retain the ownership or retain the ability to assert that trademark. And part of that is ensuring that the trademark is used according to to certain rules. It's primarily about avoiding confusion. We need to make sure that use of our project names, which we assert trademark for, is it's clear that those using any use of that trademark is associated with the Eclipse Foundation. To that end, we've actually been making some changes in our own database as we encounter new project names. The proper project name for anything should be prefixed with either Location Tech, PolarSist, or Eclipse. I've got a couple of examples on this slide, and we're helping. This last quarter, we've been helping projects understand this and how to do this with their websites. The project websites really should have the Forge identifier, Forge adjective with the project name, again, to make that brand association. And it's also the case that we need to make sure that other organizations, other people using our trademark names are using them properly and associating the trademark back with either the Eclipse, with the Eclipse Foundation or one of the working group names that we've associated Forges with. So again, this is primarily about avoiding confusion in the marketplace and ensuring that our trademarks are properly associated with the Eclipse Foundation. Again, this is something that Stephanie and I are going to be providing a lot of help with to project teams, primarily as projects step forward for reviews. That's our main point of initiating this process. But we do, as we notice it, also reach out to projects and when we're doing other things and happen upon a project property. This last quarter, I've spent some time investigating Tulip as a possible replacement for Bugzilla. The naive means of, I guess, thinking about Tulip is that it is an issue tracking system, but it does provide a lot more. Very well integrated system for issue tracking. It does different styles of agile development. So there's a Kanban board and ability to actually orchestrate work on a project and do planning that at this point our tools are more the kind of planning you can do with Bugzilla is creating relationships, blocker dependency relationships. This allows a much deeper kind of planning than Bugzilla can possibly allow, and that's pretty awesome. It also includes some document management. There is a built-in wiki. There's ability to create Git repositories, and I believe there's some Garrett integration as well. It's certainly an evolving product, and there's lots of potential there. Unfortunately, I uncovered at least 2 showstoppers at this point. Just the nature of the beast right now, being able to move issues or mark duplicates is a pretty important use case for Eclipse projects, and neither of those things are supported well in Tulip at this point. So my recommendation that I'm making to the community with regard to Tulip is those projects that are currently testing Tulip independently, we're going to please continue to do so, and as we will uncover additional insight about the use of the tool. In the meantime, I am going to work with the Tulip development team to see what we can do about plugging those holes, identify their key workflows and other opportunities. I also have it on my list to evaluate some other alternatives. GitLabs is one that's come to mind, and that's certainly on my radar. I will be opening a bug about GitLabs shortly. I haven't done that yet. There is a bug open tracking my investigation into Tulip, bug 497333. If you have input or concerns or considerations, please put them there. The thing to keep in mind is we are actually looking, and I've highlighted the word replacement on this slide. We are looking for a means of migrating off of Bugzilla, and will likely, the intention is to chart a sort of path like we did with Git. There'll be a period of transition where some projects are on one and some projects are on another, but we believe that the end state has to be everybody is on the replacement. And of course, we do also have GitHub issues is another option that's currently available, so that's also a possibility. Contributions to projects continue to rise. I put this graph on. I was actually a little bit concerned about the little dip at the end, but of course that's summertime, and a lot of people. August is always a little bit slower than the rest of the year. The trend is generally upwards, which I really love. The number of committers that we have and the number of active committers we have does continue to grow, but at a much more gradual rate. This chart is showing contributors. So these are people who are not committers providing contributions in the form of Git commits to a project team. I guess I should use this opportunity to remind everybody to make sure that all Git commits that are brought into the system have proper author credentials that actually have the actual identity of the person who actually did the work. That would be that's absolutely critical for our IP processes. But anyway, yeah, so I'm really encouraged by the continuing upward trend, and I'm expecting the next version of this graph to have be another peak. That does seem to be the trend. Our top projects by contributors, and these are projects that are accepting contributions from individuals who are not committers. Smart Home is always somewhere near the top, which is fantastic. Vertex is a project that takes on a great deal of external contribution, which is again awesome. And then the list goes on. OMR, I think, is a new entry on this list, which I find interesting. OMR is doing some pretty cool stuff. Watch that space for a while. Big presence here at Java 1, actually. Anyway, so the whole list there, if your project is on that list, kudos. That means that you're doing a pretty good job of developing a community, at least with regard to accepting contributions. With that, I believe, oh, pardon me, I have a final page just to remind people of some of the resources that are available. If you are running an Eclipse project or thinking of creating an Eclipse project, the Eclipse Project Handbook, the first link there is, I'm going to say, the definitive guide. It's it's probably a 90% of everything you need to know to run a project in there, and we're filling in the gaps. The incubation mailing list, if you're a new committer, if you are you have a new project, join that incubation list. I'm really happy with the way the community is stepping up, and generally questions are already answered by the time I see them, which is fantastic. Connect with your project mentors if you're having problems. Project mentors are there while a project is in the incubation phase. And as a last-ditch effort, if you're still having trouble, please do not hesitate to contact us at emo@eclipse.org, and we will help you as best we can. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Wayne. Really appreciate it. And our next speaker is going to be Paul, our VP of Membership. So I'm going to hand this back to Paul. Thanks, Paul.
Thanks, Andrea. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to talk about a couple of things to give you a quick update on our membership, and then talk about some of our conference activities that are coming up. So we are currently at 244 members as of the end of August. As Wayne mentioned, our total number of committers continues to grow, which is great to see. So we're up to 1,324 committers now. So that trend line is fantastic. Our number of strategic members, you may notice, decreased by 1. So OpenText has ended their relationship as a strategic member. So we thank them for their long-time support, and so we now sit at 12 strategics as opposed to the 13 in the previous quarter. So our membership trend line, we've stayed fairly steady now for the last year or so, with some projects coming, or sorry, some members coming in and some members exiting. But overall, we have been around the 244, 245 number over the last little while. The new members that have come on board have been involved largely in the various working groups, and I'll show that on the next slide. But just to provide the list of these members, we welcome them. Thank you for joining, and we hope that the relationship with you works out very, very well. So the members include ITK Engineering, Faculty of Math and Science from Warsaw University, IO-Tracks, which are involved in the IT, Soleil Synchrotron, which Andrea had mentioned earlier, and the University of Gothenburg. So each of these groups have joined, each of these has joined one of our working groups, be it the IoT or the science, and also the OpenPass. We've seen Mercedes-Benz and BMW, the technology group, join OpenPass, which is exciting to see lots of things happening in the OpenPass working group. So overall, our working groups continue to grow, which is fantastic to see. With respect to our events, our EclipseCon Europe is coming up very quickly now. So it's the last week of October, October 25 to 27 is the official conference, with an unconference day actually scheduled for October 24. And the unconference, I don't actually have it on the slide, but the unconference activities continue to grow and fill up actually. So if you're coming to EclipseCon, you should actually have a good look at the unconference schedule as well. You may find something there that's of interest to you. We're having this in the Forum again. We've been in the Forum now for over 10 years. We had our 10th anniversary last year. It's just a fantastic facility for us. They treat us really well, and it's a great place for people to come and meet. We're targeting around 600 attendees this year. And we're on track to reach that number based on the registrations we've seen so far. But be sure to register as soon as you can. The program itself has been announced. It has over 100 technical talks, a number of BOFs, workshops, and so on. Really great lineup. The program committee did a fantastic job with the program this year. And thank you to everybody who submitted proposals. We had a great number of proposals come in as well. A big shout out to our sponsors. Thank you. We are almost sold out. We actually have one spot left on our list of sponsors, but it's been a fantastic response. We couldn't do this event without you, so it's very much appreciated. Just a little bit about a couple of the events that are going on. So we are holding our IoT Day. So this is on Tuesday, if I'm not mistaken. And it's a dedicated event for the IoT community. It was well received last year, and we really hope we see the numbers go up even larger this year. The Project Quality Day is also being held again this year. That's a great event, and that community comes together and shares a lot of great ideas. As in past years, we're actually co-hosting this event with OSGI, so this is one of their OSGI community events, and they're hosting the IoT Playground again this year. So last year was a real popular event with the train set that was set up in the exhibit area. Lots of great interaction around what's happening in that space, and we think it'll be even better this year. So yeah, just a little bit. The keynotes that we have are fantastic. I didn't list them here on the slide, but if you check the website, you'll see it's a diverse list and really very interesting set of speakers that are coming in. So you'll be pleased with that lineup. For the first time in Europe, we're actually going to hold our member meeting at the event. I believe it's late Tuesday morning, if I'm not mistaken. So this quarterly event, which we're having now via teleconference, will actually be a live event that will happen just in a few weeks' time. So we're excited to be able to do that. We've done that traditionally in North America at EclipseCon, but we thought it's time to actually run this same type of event in Europe. So for many of you listening, hopefully we'll see you face-to-face at the forum. We're also going to hold an Architecture Council meeting face-to-face. We did that last March in Reston, and that worked out really well, so we're going to try that again this year. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the EclipseCon band, which is always a favorite of people. So on a Wednesday evening, they'll be back again for an encore performance. And it's just a great social event mixed in with all the great technical talks that we have. So by all means, if you haven't registered, do register. The best price ends on October 4. So be sure to get your registration done before that. Price goes up a little bit after that. So, and if you're not already following it, do start following EclipseCon. That's where we push out a lot of what's happening within the conference, so you can find out details as they get fleshed out as we draw closer. The other event that I want to talk about, and I mentioned this at our last quarterly meeting, is that Devoxx is coming to the US. So many of you would be familiar with Devoxx. It's a great developer community event, and it's a vendor neutral event. It's been running now for a number of years in Belgium, in Paris, in London, more recently in Krakow and in Morocco. And so we are, as the foundation, are producing this event and operating it in San Jose, California. So it's scheduled to run on March 21st through 23rd. By all means, put this on your calendar. This is where we, as an Eclipse community, are going to meet and as our premier event in the North American side. This, along with Eclipse Converge, which I have in a slide here in a minute, which will be held on the day before, on the March 20th, is where we will hold our typical events that we have around EclipseCon North America. It will all happen around Eclipse Converge and Devoxx US. So this is sure to be a big event. We expect over 1,000 attendees. We're hoping even more than that, but that's the expectation right now. And we're targeting 40 sponsors. And so we're encouraging our community, especially our community of sponsors, to get involved in this. We think it's a great place to showcase our Eclipse projects and the businesses that are built around Eclipse technologies to the broader development community. So by all means, reach out to us about sponsorship. You can hit the Devoxx US website, or just reach out through the membership channel, and we can help you with that. Just a quick word about the program, because the call for papers is now open. And so we are pushing very hard to attract as many talks as we can. The topics that we've identified 10 tracks. And again, you can find the tracks on the website, but they go from typical Java EE, languages, architecture, and so on. So topics that are all near and dear to the Eclipse community. The format of these talks are going to be either a full 50-minute talk, so these are a little bit longer than we do at EclipseCon. We're going to, instead of 35 minutes, we're looking at doing 50-minute talks. We also have half-hour talks, which are tools in action. So it's really intended to be much more of a closer to the metal type of exposition of activities, of things that you're working on. And we will have lightning talks as well. So just very short introductions to things that you're working on. So we're targeting 500 proposals, which is a big, big number. And again, remember, this isn't just for Devoxx. This is not just the Eclipse community, but this is the developer community at large. So we're looking for Java champions, Jug leaders, and so on to be engaged in this. The program committee consists of many of these folks, as well as people from the Eclipse community. So both Wayne, who just spoke, and Benjamin Cave, for example, are on the program committee, as are Gunnar and JJ Billings are also serving on the program committee from the Eclipse community. So thanks to all four of those folks. Really appreciate it. So just to make this clear and to highlight it, what the Devoxx in general is a conference that is geared towards all developers and covers a broad range of technologies. So Eclipse also talks about IntelliJ and others, but also many verticals are covered within this. So one of the reasons for the foundation getting involved in Devoxx and saying, yeah, this is the right way to go, is that we think it's a great way for us to bring our technologies, our projects, the things that we're working on, out to the broader developer community. And so we are, part of the setup of this is that the Devoxx US will have a very strong Eclipse component to it, stronger than you would have seen at Devoxxes that have been run in Europe. So this is part of the change that's coming to Devoxx. It is still vendor neutral, it is still across the board with technologies, but you're going to see a much more focused Eclipse bent to it. And so that's, I think, of interest to both the sponsors, to the speakers, and to potential attendees. So just final note: submit your talks. By all means, get your proposals in before October 11th. We will be announcing the program on November 16th, so we hope to have as many Eclipse talks as we possibly can mixed within there. Just a little bit more about the program. We are reaching out to the Jugs across North America. So if any of you have direct contacts into those Jugs, please let us know. We are actually doing a cross-promotion program with the Jugs because it's the Jugs that really, and the members of the Jugs that we're really targeting. And in fact, we'll hold a community day on the Monday, which will be given really a day dedicated to Jugs, how to organize Jugs, how to push material, a number of things that will be of interest, I should say, to the Jug leaders. So by all means, let folks know. The other thing that we are committed to running is Devoxx for Kids. So this is a spin-off of Devoxx, which is really intended to bring an introduction to development to young folks. And so we will hold this in the San Jose area on the Sunday. We already have a small team of folks dedicated to making this happen, but if you'd like to get involved, reach out to Wayne, actually. He's the person on the foundation who is taking the lead on this. So send a mail to him directly. A word about Eclipse Converge. So as I mentioned, Devoxx is a 3-day event, and it's open to the broader community and has Eclipse technologies mixed throughout it. But we felt it was important still to have a dedicated day for the Eclipse community itself. And so on the Monday, we are going to hold a 1-day conference for the Eclipse community, and really targeted with the entire program being based on Eclipse technologies. So we expect to have 3 or 4 technical talks based on the number of proposals that we get and so on. It will have its own program committee, and it will have its own separate call for papers. So that call for papers will open on November 10th, and it actually closes, which is probably of more interest to folks. It closes on December 12th. So we will be encouraging people, if you have a proposal that you think is not of so much interesting to the broader community, but just something that we need to talk about within the Eclipse community, then we will encourage you to submit your talks to that. But by all means, mark this on your calendar. We are offering a combination ticket. So if you go to Eclipse Converge, you can register for both conferences just through one registration. So it's very straightforward to do. So by all means, mark this Monday through Thursday in mid-March on your calendars. We look forward to being a great event. And I'll turn it over. Great. Thanks.
Great. Thank you very much, Paul. So our next speaker is Mike Milinkovic. Sorry, Mike. Mike is joining us from Java 1. So I'm just going to check with Mike, make sure he's still here. Yep, looks like he's ready to go. So Mike, if you would, unmute your microphone and the floor is yours.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. You're loud and clear. Thanks.
Right. I'm sharing my screen. Hopefully you can see that, and I'll be able to advance the slides myself.
Yep, looks good.
Alrighty. So welcome everybody. Thanks for joining us, and I'll plow through this fairly quickly so that you can get some time back on your calendar. So I'll be talking about the standard set financial update. Ian Scarrett is traveling, so I'll give his marketing and IoT working group update. And then finally, I wanted to repeat some content that we talked about at the last members meeting about the IP process revisions, because I think this is actually something that's very important to a lot of people within the Eclipse community, and it bears repeating. And there has been a few updates on that since we last spoke. So on the finances, really no news here. We're still tracking to the same budget that we set last December. So the expectation is that we'll bring in $5.5 million in revenue and spend $6 million in expenses for a net loss of $500,000. We're still tracking to that at the moment, so no news. I think just to reiterate, our goal is to break even every year, and so if we have an opportunity to pull in or to reduce some expenses or increase some revenue and try to narrow that gap between now and the end of the year, we most certainly will. Just to remind everybody, these budgets are reviewed and approved every year by the board of directors, and so we're very much in tune with them, and this is intended to be a year of investment as we continue to grow our services for the community. On the marketing side, one thing that's going on that I'm sure everybody has noticed is that on the eclipse.org website, we are doing a Friends of Eclipse donation campaign for the month of September, and it's modeled after the Wikipedia and annual fundraising drive with the goal of increasing our donations, and we will once again be using all of the funds that we get from this donation drive for putting in enhancements to the platform, the Eclipse platform. So that's done under the FEAP program, where we are taking resources and funding developers through contracts, primarily to improve the platform. So if you are a user of Eclipse and could make a contribution to help support that, it would be very, very much appreciated. So things continue to go up on the social networking site. We have a very active Eclipse Foundation Twitter handle, of course Facebook, YouTube that you're on right now, and LinkedIn and Google. All of these things are very active and continue to grow month over month. On newsletter, we have over 130,000 subscribers now with a better than industry average click rate and open rate. So just want to remind everybody that we do have a calendar that's published of the upcoming content, and would definitely be interested in hearing your ideas on what you would like to have included in the newsletter in the future. Coming up, sponsored by Genuitech, we have a JavaScript development tools topic, and Eclipse Neon coming up as well. On the IoT working group side, we have 3 new projects that have come in recently. Eclipse IO Fog is about running IoT microservices on the edge, submitted by a company by the name of IoTracks. If my memory serves me correctly, the technology stack in that is actually based on JavaScript and Node.js, which is a little bit different for us. And I think that's actually very, very cool to start tracking projects using those technology stacks. Eclipse Unite is implementation of the PPMP protocol, which was just announced by Bosch this morning, and I think in European time. And I think it's actually very important and a very important milestone that the CEO, Dr. Denner of Bosch, has issued a press release that talks about this protocol and the fact that they are focusing their implementation efforts on the Eclipse Unite project and doing work to support this strategic initiative for Bosch through the Eclipse open source community. And so we're very, very pleased that Bosch has made that commitment to Eclipse and to open source and to using Eclipse and open source as part of their new technology adoption strategy. Eclipse ACS is an access control work for IoT, and this is submitted by GE Digital. So we're actually super excited about that. It's great to see GE start to get engaged with the Eclipse IoT community. And it's something that we've been working on for quite some time, and just want to say welcome and thank you for bringing that project to Eclipse. Some upcoming events that have happened recently. So Eclipse IoT Day at ThingMonk happened last week in London. Had 6 sessions focused on the IoT projects and attracted 90 attendees. This week at Java 1, Benjamin Cadet is at the booth showcasing IoT projects, doing a great job as always. And there's a number of Eclipse IoT related sessions. The folks from Eurotech are talking about Cura. Kai Kreutzer is talking about Eclipse Smart Home and OpenHab. And Benjamin Cadet is also speaking at Java 1 as well. And actually next week, I'm going to be at the Cloud Foundry Summit in Frankfurt talking about Eclipse IoT as well. So switching now, I just want to, again, a lot of this material is the same as what we talked about the last members meeting, but I do think that this is important enough that it bears repeating. So we are currently undergoing probably the largest overhaul or revision to our IP policy and IP process since the beginning of the Eclipse Foundation, and this is something that I'm personally very, very excited about. So on the goals, like what are we doing and why are we doing it? So basically what we really want to try to do is make it possible for new projects at Eclipse to be operational a lot faster than they currently are. And by operational, we mean code is checked in, builds are running, downloads available. We want to shorten that to, ideally a week. Whereas today, getting to that point can take sometimes months or even longer. So we want to dramatically improve that. I think that's part of helping to attract new projects to the Eclipse community is to make it easier for them to accomplish this goal. We want to reduce the amount of time that's spent on IP due diligence. We want to remove IP due diligence from the critical path of beginning a project at Eclipse. If the project would like to do that, this would be their choice. And I think a lot of it has to do with we want to make sure that the IP team is spending time on those projects that really want their services at a point in their project lifecycle that makes the most sense for the project. This is all about making sure that the resources allocated are invested by organizations that value their results rather than all projects at all times, which is the way it has been historically at Eclipse. So these are the main goals and the main objectives of what we're trying to accomplish. So the proposal is pretty simple. We're going to have actually, sorry, I should have updated these slides. It's instead of level 1, level 2, it should say type A and type B. We decided to rename that to make them so that it doesn't sound like there's some kind of value judgment. But the Type A, or was Level 1, is a new type of IP due diligence that allows that projects can use a tool to self-certify about compatible and permitted licenses. So the focus on the due diligence for a Type A project is all around license compatibility, as opposed to doing the deep dive on the provenance for all of the dependencies the way we have historically done on Eclipse. So Type A projects would have significantly less work for the people that are on the project and from the IP team to be doing that. It is important to understand that Type A, or Level 1, will still provide a significant level of due diligence. And I think that Eclipse will be fulfilling its brand promise, will still be continuing to fulfill its brand promise of developing high-quality software from an IP perspective. This is more about aligning what we do at Eclipse with the way that industry expectations have evolved since the beginning of the Eclipse project 15 years ago. So each project will select the due diligence level that they want. And it's actually the project leader that'll be responsible for making that decision. We have some work to do to make sure that the level is disclosed by the metadata in the PMI. And then one of the things that we expect to happen is if the project decides to do Type A and there are consumers that really want that extra due diligence, they would have the option to approach the project and say, we would like to help you get there, which I think is a really important sort of rebalancing of the investment levels that go into the IP due diligence, where people who really value that can help make that happen. We do expect that new projects will often start at Type A and then perhaps switch to Type B as the project matures. I think that's largely around making sure that the project gets off to a fast start, which is mostly what which is what most projects want to do. Once they say they want to move to Eclipse, they want to get going as quickly as possible. And so projects can choose what they want. So they could start at Type A or Type B, and they stay at either one of those for their entire life cycle. It's entirely up to the choice of the project. So where are we now? So approval in principle from the board happened back in June, and the revisions for the IP policy have actually now been approved. So that happened on our August phone call, and the new IP policy is now posted, and we are moving into the implementation phase. We still have a lot of work to do to figure out things like what tools can we give the projects to do their self-certification about the project, about the licenses in terms of compatibility and choosing from the right set of licenses. And also updating the PMI to disclose what level of IP due diligence the project is operating under. So we're working on the project plan for doing that. It's certainly the goal of myself and our staff to have projects being able to start use this new process before the end of this year. So it might be some manual stuff that has to happen in order to enable that, but then the expectation will be increasing levels of automation as time goes on. So with that, just wanted to say thank you very much for your attention and for joining us, and throw it open to any questions. Thank you for listening.
Thanks very much, Mike. I really appreciate you joining us and for speaking, and thanks again to all of our speakers. Now, for those who missed my segment at the beginning, there's a few different ways you can ask questions. You can send me an email directly, so that's andrea.ross@eclipse.org. You can post them on Twitter with the Eclipse MM hashtag, so that's short for Eclipse Member Meeting. Also, you can ask them in the Eclipse IRC channel. And if you happen to know myself or one of my colleagues at the Eclipse Foundation, feel free to email them or message them. Now, if we can't answer your questions right here, right now, what we'll do is post the answer afterwards on the video. Now, for those of you who are watching the recording, which is actually quite popular, feel free to comment on the video, and we'll make sure that the right person sees the question and responds. So I'm just going to take one quick check to make sure that that we're good. Pardon me 1 second here. There we go. I didn't see any as of about 2 minutes ago, but I'm just going to do one last check before we say goodbye. No, I don't see any questions. So thank you very much, everyone. And thanks once again to the speakers. And we'll see you next quarter.
Thanks, Andrea.
Cheers.